Let's get into this movie. I actually ended up watching this on Shudder, which is interesting because you would think that this type of movie would have been uploaded to YouTube because it's still a VHS transfer. It starts off with a very long title sequence. For some reason, I remember when I first watched this movie, the title sequence being about 6 minutes long, but on Shudder, it's only 3 minutes long. I don't know whether I'm misremembering this or whether it has been cut down. I tried to look it up and I didn't see any information regarding whether it's been cut down or not. Also, the opening sequence music sounds like a preset on a Casio keyboard. I was very surprised to find out that that was an actual score written by someone. The main character in this movie's name is Helen Black, and she is a very chaste Christian woman who doesn't believe in premarital sex and is very, very strictly religious. One day she happens to go to this curio shop, and that's where she sees the doll, which is actually a ventriloquist dummy, and the shopkeeper refers to it as a puppet, but for all intents and purposes, I will refer to it as a doll. I think a ventriloquist dummy is a type of puppet. I don't know. But I feel like there's marionettes, ventriloquist dummies, and then sock puppets. But then I don't know whether it's still... Okay, I'm getting off on a tangent. Never mind. So anyways, the shopkeeper tells her that this doll has special powers to grant the owner their deepest desire, and that she sold the doll 4 times, and each time the doll has found its way back to the shop.
You like it?
Yes, I really do.
I'm gonna tell you a little story about this puppet.
Helen decides to buy the doll anyways. I should say, Helen laughs when she first hears the story, but then she decides to buy the doll.
How much is it?
Now, if you are under the age of 14, this is where you can turn this video off because this is not for your eyes. When she brings the doll home, it immediately has an effect on her psyche. She's in the shower and she starts fantasizing about the doll, and then she starts to masturbate in the shower, and then she even has nightmares about the doll attacking her. She also leaves the doll in one place, then finds it in another, and of course that would freak anyone out. Finally, she tries to put the doll back in its box and then lock it in the closet to keep it from bothering her. And then what happens next is the literal reason why my mother started checking the movies that we rented. Because when I would say I was about 12, 13, I think I was 13 when we rented this movie. I saw the doll with the glowing eyes on the VHS cover, and I thought it was going to be like Child's Play because I really like Child's Play. And before renting this movie, my mother never really checked the movies that we rented because we didn't really rent anything that was too, out of the order. Like we would rent stuff like Dead Alive or the Howling movies. What else did I see on VHS back in the day? Return of the Living Dead, stuff like that. So it was never anything too controversial until this movie. I didn't know how this movie ended before tonight because the scene that I'm just about to talk about happened, and my mother heard the doll calling Helen a bitch.
Bitch.
And that's when she shut off the VCR, and she was just appalled. She was beside herself. Like, how could anyone make a movie with a doll cursing at this woman? And at this time, I didn't even know about what the doll was going to do next to the woman. I don't recall whether that had happened yet. I think the doll cursed at her and said that he was going to, sleep with her. I don't want to curse on the video, but.
No, please,
yes.
let me go.
Yes. This is what you want, and I'm gonna give it to you.
I think the doll said he was going to do that, and my mother shut off the VCR before we actually saw the doll do that. But yeah, from that day forward, every time we went to the video store, my mother said, I need to see what movies you guys picked out. Let me read the back of the movies. Let me see the rating on the movie that she picked out. So this movie has a special place in my memory for that specific reason. Now, going back to the part of the movie that I did see for the first time tonight. The doll is calling Helen bitch. I'm sorry, why? That shouldn't be funny, but it's hilarious to me. It really shouldn't be funny, but it is. Because the doll is like, hey, bitch, wake up, bitch. No. If I could find a clip of that doll saying that, that's the funniest thing I've seen in a movie.
Bitch. I said wake up, bitch! Wake up!
So the doll, before he has sex with her, he actually does what DJ Khaled claims to not do. I don't believe him. He says he doesn't do that, but I don't believe him.
Here's Johnny!
And then the doll deflowers her, of course. And yes, they show the doll on top of her stroking. That's what we'll call that. And this awakens her desire. I know, it's sick, right? The doll disappears the next day, and she tries to get the same feeling from the hustle man outside. And you know what a hustle man is. A hustle man is, or a hustle woman, is a person who pretty much resells stolen goods. So she tries to get with the hustle man outside. He cannot please her the way the doll pleased her. So she tells him to get the hell out. Then she goes up to a nightclub and she meets this dude with a perm, and she brings him home, and she can't get any satisfaction from him either the way the doll made her feel. So she eventually buys the doll again, and she tries to beg it to do what it did before. And then she says, well, if I can't have you, no one can, implying that she's going to destroy the doll. And then the doll's eyes light up and kill her.
I can't have you. No one else will.
In almost like a possessed type of way, which, you know, it is a devil doll from hell. So cut to the next scene, the doll is back at the store, and the shopkeeper is now telling the next person that she has sold the doll 5 times and it is returned back to the store.
It is said that it is able to give its owner its heartfelt wish. I have sold this puppet on 5 other occasions, and each time it finds its way back to the store.
And the girl still buys the doll, which opens us up for a sequel, which is pretty cool. Now I know they didn't make a sequel, but they did make a remake, which is awful. It's abysmal. It's so bad. I tried to watch the remake, which was done in 2007, and I couldn't make it through 10 minutes. And I can sit through almost anything. So for me to turn it off, it had to be really, really bad. I mean, it was so bad. I wrote a short list of movies that are better than the remake to Black Devil Doll. Troll 2, The Room, Redneck Zombies, Zombievers, Ghost Shark, Mansquito, Frankenfish, Curse the Werewolf. All better movies than the remake to Black Devil Doll, so skip it, unless you are a masochist. Watching this as an adult was kind of funny to me because it's so ridiculously outlandish that it's good in some ways. Well, in my opinion anyways. But this movie's not for everyone. If you're the type of person that you liked Frankenhooker, The Greasy Strangler, Poltergeist, Night of the Chicken Dead, this is right up your alley. If those were too much for you, this movie isn't so much your style, and that's alright. Let's talk about the technical aspects of this movie. This is filmed in VHS, and the copy that I watched is on Shudder is a VHS transfer complete with the tracking lines at the top and the bottom. It looks like the director only used natural lighting and the lighting that's available inside the house and the dance club when there was a scene in the dance club. Between the lighting used and the VHS form of recording, this would have looked like a home video if it wasn't for the direction and the camera work, really. The camera work is what keeps this movie from looking too amateur. I like how the director visually told this story. He deliberately chooses to zoom in at certain things, zoom out during certain moments, to do close-ups. He pans through different areas, and it really shows his talent. And in my opinion, you can definitely tell that this director had more talent than he had money, which is always a good thing. And this stands out to me particularly because I've seen so many newer movies recently where people had more money than talent. Terrifier, I'm looking at you. I mean, someone's got to tell me why the lighting in this 1984 VHS recorded movie was better than lighting in Terrifier. That just irritated my life. And then we won't talk about Open House again. That was all budget, all money, very little talent. Except for the cinematographer. They did a good job. The storytelling is actually very good in this. There's a scene where Helen is on the phone with her friend, and the phone conversation definitely, it comes off very natural, but it serves to introduce you more to Helen's character as well as her friend's character, who they play well off each other because Helen is so very chaste and her friend is a little bit loose in the booty. And while this phone conversation is establishing her character, at the same time we're visually seeing her character too as the camera pans around her home, and you see things like the Bible open, the plastic on her furniture, the carefully grown houseplants. These all kind of show us what type of individual she is, and that type of storytelling is underrated. Like I said at the beginning of this, with the title sequence, the soundtrack is awful except for the few times where there was an R&B singing style over it. The singer was very good. That part of the soundtrack was really good, but the parts that were just instrumental, really bad. Especially during the scene where the shopkeeper is first telling Helen about the doll. The soundtrack is a little too loud and it's hard for you to hear the shopkeeper. Plus, the notes that are being hit are so tinny. I can't think of another word because I can't say it's not in key. It's in key, but it's so high pitched and annoying that it's very difficult for you to hear what the shopkeeper is saying.
You like it?
Yes, I really do.
I'm going to tell you a little story about this puppet. The owner of this puppet was an East Indian. It is believed wish. I have sold this puppet on four other occasions. And each time, this puppet always finds its way back to the store.
The effects, as far as the doll looked, I mean, I thought the design of the doll was pretty cool. The facial expressions that the doll made were pretty cool. The only time it was kind of funny was the scenes where, the full body scenes, where you can clearly tell it is a small child instead of the doll, which, you know, would be fine if it was a normal horror movie, but no child should be on set for the type of storyline this movie had. I did want to go over a little bit of trivia that I found about this movie that I found kind of interesting. One thing, the doll's head fell off during the filming of the scene with the doll having sex with the woman. That particular doll used for the movie was found in a hobby shop in Chicago. And the scenes, like I said, the full body scenes that you could tell was a small child, apparently that was the director's nephew. And the original title for this was called The Puppet. And the title was changed to appease the VHS distributor, who agreed to release the film, but only if the original title was dropped and replaced with Black Devil Doll from Hell. I think that was actually a good decision, because The Puppet is not as memorable a name or title as Black Devil Doll from Hell. Almost everyone who worked on this film got paid by the director Chester Novell Turner, but Turner didn't pay himself anything during the making of this movie. The doll's tongue was made out of latex and a coat hanger. Chester Novell Turner wrote the script in 3.5 days. Believable. This is one of my favorite facts. The dummy's cornrow hairstyle was done as a tribute to singer Rick James. The film was entirely financed by Chester Novell Turner, so an independent film. And the curio shop was located in a suburb of Chicago. And all the shots within the curio shop were done in one day. A very interesting little piece. I'm looking forward to watching his other film, which is on YouTube. I'll probably put the link in the description or in the first comment underneath this video.
How do you like that, bitch?
We're going to continue the dollathon with the movie Dolls, which was directed by Stuart Gordon, who is famous for Castle Freak, Reanimator, and From Beyond. Just so you know, this is a spoiler review. I repeat, this is a spoiler review, and one more time for the people in the back, this is a spoiler review. You have been warned. I haven't rewatched this movie since I don't know when, and this is the type of movie that I rented just based off the strength of the cover art on the box of the original VHS cassette, which was like a doll with, it was a doll holding its own eyeballs, and what child doesn't want to see a movie like that? At least not the type of child I was. Also, the poster art had the tagline, "They walk, they talk, they kill." So at the very beginning of the movie, there is this family that is going on a vacation, and they have some road trouble, and off the rip, we get some pretty cool jump scares with a teddy bear, which kind of turns into a monster. Initially, it's just all in the little girl's head. It's just her imagination. The family takes shelter at the home of an elderly couple, and they're soon joined by a gentleman who picked up 2 hitchhikers that kind of look like they put on all their jewelry in an attempt to look like Madonna, but they still kind of have a punk rock edge to them too. I can relate because I went through a complete Madonna phase in 4th grade where I wore all of my jewelry. I never left the house with no less than 10 to 12 bracelets on each wrist. Then I went through a little bit of a Jodie Watley phase, and then there was that time my mother's friend cut my hair like pebbles. This haircut right here, that is hell to grow out, and also, as an 8th grader, I could not maintain that hairstyle for ish. The only likable characters in the movie are the guy that picked up the hitchhiker is named Ralph, and the little girl. That's suburban life. People just cut their grass whenever the hell they want to because they're homeowners. Anyways, where was I? I'm gonna power through this. I usually edit out the moments that I look down at my phone for notes, but I can't concentrate with this lawnmower behind me, and you guys know me. I have ADHD as it is, so it's an issue. So I'm just gonna be looking back and forth at my phone, and you will deal because I have so many doll movies to get through, and I'm determined to get through all of them. Well, not every single doll movie ever made, but all the ones that are on my list for this weekend. So where was I? I was talking about the characters and who's good and bad. The stepmother and father are established as being evil characters. The stepmother is just a witch, and the dad kind of wants to get rid of his daughter and be with the stepmother and try to collect alimony, I think, from his ex-wife. The hitchhikers also are determined to be quote-unquote bad people because they initially wanted to steal Ralph's wallet, but then when they get to the elderly couple's house, they want to steal whatever they can find in the elderly couple's house. So when you have so many characters that are shown to be evil, you're just kind of waiting for the dolls to get in their ass. Oh, I just noticed in my notes I called those girls klepto-punk Madonnas. Also, they say Ralph was likable. He had a moment of not being likable when he didn't believe the little girl and he wanted to kick all the dolls, and that the dolls were not bothering him and they weren't going to bother him, but when he decided to kick them, that's when, they messed him up for a little bit, but then the little girl saved him. By the way, the little girl's name is Judy. I keep forgetting that, but it's in the notes. I liked the actor playing Judy. She was age appropriate. She looked the age that she was supposed to be, and I've said this before, if you're new to my channel, I'll just repeat it for the people that don't know. I don't like when they have older children play younger children. It's really irritating to see a 12-year-old act like they're 5 years old. Cast a 5-year-old. Or cast a 7-year-old who looks like a 5-year-old, if anything. The Hatred had a child actor like that. The Hatred had this little girl that she was on the edge of puberty, and they had her run around the house acting like I almost said toddler. Not quite a toddler, but way younger than what children her age actually act. But aside from Judy, the acting in this movie was pretty good. I can't say any of the actors were weak links. They all did pretty well. The story moves along pretty well. I didn't get bored, and you know me, I have a short attention span. When I think about it, even as a child, when I watched this movie, it held my attention. The one criticism that I do have of the movie is that certain times in the movie, the score was a little too whimsical for what was happening. For example, something could be happening and it's a little bit, or it should be something that's considered terrifying, but the score is giving comedy fantasy film instead, as if the score went more for a movie that would be similar to like Willow than an actual horror. The strength that the movie has is the special effects. The stop motion still looks pretty good. I really liked how the doll movements were doll-like. There's limited facial articulation, but that was alright. It didn't bother me too much. There was also a transformation scene where the father transformed into like this, what would you call it? A court jester type doll. That was done kind of well. I read that originally there were more gore effects in this movie, like to the extent that the dolls were pulling out people's intestines. But the director decided that would be a little bit too much. There's something else I found about the movie. I'm just going to read it verbatim from IMDb. The dolls in the film have various different origins explaining their ability to come to life. Mr. Punch and the toy soldiers are controlled by the witchcraft magic of Gabriel and Hillary, which are the older couple. Some of the dolls used to be immoral humans and were transformed into dolls to pay for their crimes in life, which explains why some of them have an organic skeleton underneath the porcelain. And some of them are also fairies, which explains why their bodies burn and smoke after being whipped by Enid's metal belt, as fairies have an adverse reaction to metal and iron in folklore. I thought that was kind of cool that they put all those different elements within the different dolls. And it shows in some of the special effects, like one of the dolls, I'll probably superimpose a picture of one of the dolls that its face got crushed, and then you could see the old shrunken body of the immoral person that was placed inside of the doll. That was really cool. I like the concept of that. The ending wraps things up pretty well in a neat little bow. I like the music that played over the ending of the movie. That really fit. And there's also I'm going to call it an end credit scene because it's a scene that plays behind the credits that leaves room open for a sequel, and I'm like seeing as we keep getting these Chucky movies, and I love Child's Play. It's one of my favorite movies is Child's Play. I see no reason why we shouldn't have a Dolls too. I'm waiting for that one. This movie's actually kind of underrated in my opinion. Almost forgotten. I don't hear a lot of people talk about it at all. For me, it holds up to repeated watchings. You let me know how you feel about it, but I have seen it multiple times and I still enjoy it each time. But like I said, people really sleep on Dolls, and a couple of things that I noticed that Dolls did before a few other movies was Dolls threw a lady through a window of a house and killed her before Child's Play. Dolls had stop motion puppets that shot bullets at a person before Puppet Master, and they had a person, full grown person, turn into a doll before Dead Silence. Like 30 years before Dead Silence. So there's things that other movies have borrowed from Dolls, and I don't think people know about that. So I just wanted to add that. I won't make this review any longer than it has to be because I got to get through a bunch of doll movies. What do you think of Dolls? Have you seen Dolls? And how did you see Dolls? Were you lucky enough to see it when it, well, not when it first came out because I didn't see it when it first came out either. I saw it on VHS. But I don't know whether it was direct to video or whether it was ever released in a movie theater to begin with. So I might have seen it when it first came out. All I know is I saw it on VHS back in the 80s when I actually was a child. So let me know if you saw Dolls, when and how you saw it, and what do you think about it?
You're never too old to play with dolls.
Pleasant dreams.
Until you're dead. Dolls.
Hey Latchkey kids, welcome back to the Dollathon, and we're continuing on with the original Child's Play. If you weren't at the beginning of this Dollathon, I'll just repeat, just so you know, people are cutting grass, riding by on motorcycles, doing all kind of springtime, summertime stuff, so we're going to do the best we can with the audio. Now, I actually have very vivid memories of the TV spots for Child's Play.
Something has moved in with the Barkley family. And so has terror. Child's Play. You wish it was only make-believe. Rated R. Starts Wednesday, November 9th at a theater near you.
And as a kid, I think I was, was I still in elementary school or was I in middle school yet? I think I was in elementary school when the trailers and the TV spots were out, but I think by the time the movie dropped, I think I might have been in 7th grade. But the trailer and the TV spots really scared me. I was really scared to watch this movie when I was a kid. I don't know. Well, I know why. Because as a child, a creepy doll or a killer doll would be frightening. Especially this was only a couple years after the My Buddy dolls came out. And Baby Talks dolls. I don't know if anyone remembers Baby Talks doll. My younger sister had a Baby Talks doll. And that thing was creepy. Sometimes it would laugh, at odd times. And the other thing that was creepy was Teddy Ruxpin. My cousin had a Teddy Ruxpin, and that doll was creepy. Unless we put music cassette tapes in it, because the thing with Teddy Ruxpin dolls is they come with a cassette that the doll would, or the Teddy would use to speak or to sing or to tell stories. Like maybe you could buy the books that go with Teddy Ruxpin, and it comes with a cassette tape, and the bear would act like it's reading the book to you. Well, we soon found out that you could also put Run DMC cassette tapes in, and the bear would rap along to that, so that made it a lot less creepy. Anyways, I was still excited to rent this video on VHS when it finally came out on VHS. I should mention that this was directed by Tom Holland, and I believe he did this after Fright Night. Yes, he did do it after Fright Night, and he used one of the same actors, Chris Sarandon, that's his name. Some things that I noticed upon rewatching this for, the 20-something time was how well this movie is made. There is a great tracking shot of Aunt Maggie walking through the apartment, and it's just done so well. Lighting's great, sound design is great, the effects were really great, but I'm going to come back to that later. Let me get back to the sound design. It was really effective in a scene where Chucky is trying to attack the detective, and if you watch this in surround sound, you can hear Chucky running around the car, and it comes out of different speakers. I don't know if it was originally like that in the movie theater because I didn't get to see it in the movie theater, but you can hear the footsteps in different speakers if you have a surround sound system that has multiple speakers, and you can hear him scraping his knife along the side of the car, the front of the car, the back of the car, inside the car. That worked really well on surround sound. This movie really doesn't get the credit that it deserves for being a really well-made movie. I mean, there are little imperfections that one might notice after watching it a dozen times. So there are probably people that pick the movie apart, but it's, 30 years old now? 31 years old? And look how long it took to be, maybe someone picked it apart in 1988. I have no idea. But I think it still holds up to this day. All in all, this movie's strengths vastly outnumber its weaknesses. So there's that. I really love all the little touches, like when Chucky first talks to Andy, the way he blinks and moves his eyes. It's just kind of like, it's a small, tiny thing, but it's slightly creepy enough for it to be almost foreshadowing what's going to happen in the movie. Also, the flower on Chucky's, the bottom of his shoes, when the detective is looking around the apartment and discovers this, I like that type of writing. It's something really small, but it works. Also, I should mention that this movie starts out more like a mystery thriller than even a straight horror movie, and I really like that. It even takes time to give you a few misdirects and make you question a few things. This is if you're watching it for the very first time. If you're watching this movie for the very first time, it really does make you kind of question, well, is Chucky really doing this, or is it Andy, or is it in Andy's mind? And you really don't get firm confirmation that Chucky is alive until about 45 minutes into the movie. The first third of the movie, they really almost don't show anything of Chucky doing anything except acting like a good guy doll, with the exception of the point of view shot of the Aunt Maggie kill. But again, you don't see Chucky, you just see the point of view shot. It really isn't until Andy skips school at Chucky's direction to go after, what's his name? Eddie Caputo, that you get to really see Chucky walking around and doing, the scene that sticks out in my mind is when he's in Eddie Caputo's house and you see the oven and you see the little hand, Chucky's little hand reach up and open the oven. And they do that little by little. You see little glimpses of Chucky before you see him in full. Another one of my favorite scenes is the battery reveal, when the mother is kind of looking at the back of the box and the batteries drop out, and it's like the first time you're like, oh crap, this doll's been talking this whole time with no batteries in him. But then the scene gets even better when she picks the doll up and she kind of threatens to put him in the fire, and when he first turns his head around,
I said talk to me, damn it, or else I'm gonna throw you in the fire!
You stupid bitch, you filthy slut! Did you fuck with me?
starts cursing her out. I get a kick out of it every time. Maybe something wrong with me, but I love a cursing, screaming doll. I think did the doll call her a whore or a slut or something like that?
You stupid bitch, you filthy slut! Did you fuck with me?
I don't know, but that was hilarious to me. Speaking of batteries, this movie's original title was Batteries Not Included, but then, of course, Steven Spielberg was making a movie by the same title, Batteries Not Included, and then the working title of this was Blood Buddy, which is funny because in the new Chucky, I'm just going to call it the new Child's Play. They should have just called it Chucky, but then they can't call it Chucky because now his name is Buddy. Getting back to my point, the original title, the working title, not the original title, but the working title was Blood Buddy, and in the new Child's Play movie, his name is Buddy, so they kind of went back to that. Yeah, there are times that you can tell that Chucky is played by an actor with dwarfism. I'm okay with that. That's better than CGI in my book. I actually think that we should give that actor his props. His name is Ed Gale. His physicality was really great. There's a scene where Chucky tries to bite Andy's mother a second time because when he cursed her out, he tried to bite. He did bite her, I think. Yeah, he bit her the first time after cursing her out and called her all kind of names. The second time he tried to bite her, she threw him on the ground, and it switches to Ed Gale playing Chucky, and the way he rolled and then jumped up and then snatched his knife out was really good. Ed Gale did a full body burn as Chucky coming out of the fireplace. And he's actually done that twice in his career. He did it once in this movie, and he was a stunt double for Warwick Davis in Leprechaun 3. And he did a full body burn while being suspended on wires. So this guy, he's legit. Oh, he also played Howard the Duck, by the way. And Dolly Dearest. He played Dolly, which is funny, because I was about to say that Dolly Dearest reminds me so much of Chucky, and I couldn't remember why, besides them both being dolls. It's the same stunt actor, and I'm saying give Ed Gale his props. Not all heroes wear capes. Also, shout out to the FX crew that did the animatronics. One of the most amazing things that they did was the facial articulation in Chucky. He had so many different expressions, and to know that this was done in camera with a team of, I'm going to call them puppeteers. I don't know if that is the correct term for them, because they are literally puppeteering it, but they're doing it with hydraulics and electronics, but it's still kind of a form of puppeteering, working in conjunction with each other to get this doll to do all these things at the same time is to me an amazing feat, and I appreciate it. Like I said, this still holds up. It still looks good to me. I think part of the reason why I'm more forgiving is because he's a doll. You expect the doll to move in a doll-like fashion, but there's still enough humanity in it to make it seem really, really entertaining. Last but not least, the FX gore part of it. The burnt Chucky doll looked amazing. The meltingness on his face, it was done so well. And I mean, I love practical effects. Anybody that has seen or watched at least 3 of my videos know I love practical effects, and I really appreciate this movie for that. I don't think I need to tell you that I love Child's Play, although I think I already did tell you that, so I'd just be repeating myself. Anyway, what do you think about the original Child's Play? Were you an actual child when you saw it? Where did you see it, and what do you think about it? Let me know in the comments.
Look, George, some child left their doll in the elevator.
Now leave it alone. Whoever left it there will come back looking for it.
Ugly doll.
Fuck you.
Continuing on with the Dollathon, we are going into Dolly Dearest. And I just have to say, I feel so out of practice because it's been so long since I've been on camera, and I feel like I have to keep repeating myself, and I'm stumbling over my words because I'm not speaking enough. But bear with me. Let's talk about Dolly Dearest. I paired Dolly Dearest with Child's Play because in my mind they go together. They both have supernatural elements. Dolly Dearest reminds me of Chucky in a lot of ways, and now I know why, because as I was preparing for this video, I found out that the stunt actor Ed Gale played both characters, so there's that. In this movie, a family moves from LA to Mexico because the father intends to reopen a doll factory. Then an archaeologist that was digging around some Mayan ruins released an evil spirit, and the evil spirit takes residence in one of the dolls. Well, one of the dolls at first, and then we have Dolly Dearest. The family consists of the father who's reopening the toy factory, the mother who's played by the actress that played the mother on Pet Sematary before she was the chief of security in the original Star Trek Next Generation. She was the original chief of security before Worf was the chief of security, but then they killed her off. And I guess maybe she went back to acting or something. Back to acting. Star Trek is acting too. Why am I in my mind? I thought Star Trek was real. No, those are actors too. She didn't go back to acting. She was acting on Star Trek, and she probably went for other roles, and that's probably why they killed off her character, and then Worf became the chief security on Enterprise. Sorry for that Trekkie moment. I grew up in a Trekkie household. My mother's a Trekkie, reads the books, took me to my first convention. That's my mother's stuff. Shout out to my mother, and live long and prosper. Oh yeah, I was talking about what the family consists of. I talked about the parents, didn't mention the children. There is a daughter who reminds me of Drew Barrymore, and I'm just going to call her Great Value Drew Barrymore. And their son reminds me of a miniature Herbert West. They also have a domestic worker who I think is played by the same actress that played the woman that killed Selena. So unfortunately for that actress, I have a very negative association with her because you kill Selena. This movie gets a little bit unfairly painted as a Child's Play knockoff. While it did capitalize off of the success of Child's Play, I think it's different enough to be its own thing. It's not nearly as good as Child's Play. It has a lot of problems. It feels too long, and the story dragged on for me, which was interesting because I found out that it's only, 5 minutes longer than Child's Play. I actually made a note of it. Child's Play, this movie is 93 minutes long, and Child's Play is 87 minutes long. So it's a difference of 6 minutes, but it felt so much longer. The technical aspects of this movie are fine. Cinematography, lighting, I said cinematography. I was about to say cinematography and camera work, but it's kind of like the same thing. The score was fine. The sound was fine. The acting was all right. It's just the writing that was kind of bad. One of the things in the writing that bugged me is the characters were always tripping and falling. I mean, excessively. The children's characters were written in the most annoying way. You don't even want to root for these kids because they're so annoying. Like I said, I blame writing for both of these issues. Oh, I better hurry up. I think there is a thunderstorm coming, and I want to get at least 2 more videos done before the sound gets even worse. Okay, where was I? Was I talking about the doll design? I'm gonna just start talking about that now then. I like the doll design. It did have some facial articulation, about, I would say, a little bit less than what there was in Child's Play, but still pretty good. And in the movie, there was multiple Dolly Dearest wreaking havoc in the factory. And I thought that was very interesting because they kind of went back to that concept in Cult of Chucky, which I will be reviewing. But yeah, it just made me think of that. Then when I was preparing for this video, I found out that Don Mancini wanted there to be multiple Chuckies in Child's Play 3, but he was unable to do that at that time, but was able to do it in the Cult of Chucky, so that's why that happened. I don't know which one happened first. Let me see here. I wrote in my notes. I'm just going to read it verbatim. This is like Evil Doll horror movie Inception. Child's Play ended up copying a movie that copied it. But then I found out they're both released in 1991, so who did it first, or whose idea might have been first? When I say they were both released in 1991, Dolly Dearest and Child's Play 3 were both released in 1991. Child's Play 3 was released August 30th in 1991. Dolly Dearest was released August 18th in October 18th in 1991. So I take everything I just said back about Dolly Dearest and Child's Play and Inception and all that. Let me just finish this up because my battery's about to die. Crap. There's a reason why I haven't watched this movie in a very long time. It's just not very rewatchable for me. I watched it just for the purpose of doing a doll-a-thon, but Dolly Dearest is not one of my favorite doll movies. So there's that. It's not all that entertaining. What else did I write? Some people might have some nostalgia for this movie, so let me know if you're one of those people and tell me why. And I'm not saying that in a negative way. I just like to hear other people's opinions. What do you think about Dolly Dearest? How old were you when you saw Dolly Dearest? Does it have a nostalgia factor for you? Let me know in the comments.
It's time to play. Play with this, bitch.
Hey Latchkey kids, and shout out to the Drive-In Mutants. Welcome back to the Dollathon, aka Summer of the Dolls. I paired Annabelle with Robert because they're both about haunted dolls that come from real life. Before I get into the review for Annabelle, let's revisit the true life story of Annabelle right quick. Annabelle is a reportedly haunted Raggedy Ann doll. According to Ed and Lorraine Warren, self-described paranormal investigators and demonologists, a student nurse was given the doll in 1968. They say the doll behaved strangely, and that the psychic medium told the student that the doll was inhabited by the spirit of a dead girl named Annabelle. They say the student and her roommate tried to accept and nurture the spirit-possessed doll, but the doll reportedly exhibited malicious and frightening behavior. It was at this point that the Warrens say they were first contacted, and that they removed the doll to their museum after pronouncing it demonically possessed. The doll is kept in a glass box of the Warrens Occult Museum in Monroe, Connecticut. The real Annabelle doll used to leave notes that read "help me, help us," etc. on parchment paper. Neither of the roommates had parchment paper. They also reported that they would leave the doll sitting on the bed and return home to find it on the couch, or that its arms and legs would be in a different position. One day, a male friend was taking a nap and woke up to find the doll staring at him. He said that he had a feeling that he was being strangled, and he also experienced deep scratch marks on his body. The women at first thought that an intruder was moving the doll around and leaving the notes. When they ruled that out, according to the Occult Museum website, quote, knowing where to turn, they contacted a medium and a seance was held. The girls were introduced to the spirit of Annabelle Higgins. She was said to be a young girl that resided on the property before the apartments were built and died there at age 7. According to the website, the spirit related to the medium that she felt comfort with the two roommates in the apartment and wanted to stay with them and be loved. The roommates gave Annabelle permission to inhabit the doll, but things got worse. The Warrens took an interest in the case and contacted the women. They came to the immediate conclusion that the doll itself was not in fact possessed but manipulated by an inhuman presence, according to the Warrens website. It goes on to say, quote, truly the spirit was not looking to stay attached to the doll, it was looking to possess a human host. The Warrens took the doll, and Ed Warren told his wife they should avoid the highway because it was going to be a rough ride home. He was right, and at one point, he had to sprinkle holy water onto Annabelle in order for her to calm down. This is according to the New Haven Register. People who have visited Annabelle at Ed Lorraine's museum and disrespected her have experienced negative repercussions. Once a young couple visited the museum and the boyfriend made fun of Annabelle, taunting her and challenging her to do something. When they left, they got into a motorcycle accident and the boyfriend died. A priest from Hartford threw the doll and admonished the demon inside. On his way home, he was in a car accident, totaling his car. Fortunately, he survived. He reports that the last thing he saw before getting hit by a truck was Annabelle in his rearview mirror. Now that you know the history of Annabelle, let's talk about the movie. This movie doesn't tell the story that I just recounted to you that was actually covered as a subplot in The Conjuring. And I'm sure by now you all know that Ed and Lorraine Warren have investigated thousands of cases, including those covered in the movie, the Amityville haunting, A Haunting in Connecticut, and the Conjuring movies. The story told in the Annabelle movie might remind one more of the Manson family murders and Sharon Tate than the Annabelle legend, but I'll come back to that later. This movie gets a lot of crap because it was not what people expected. It was way more low-key than what people expected. I remember the biggest complaint people had was that Annabelle didn't move. I think people were expecting her to be more like Chucky. But by this point in time, we know not to expect that from Annabelle. That said, this movie is not as bad as what people say. There's actually a classification between good and bad. My classification between good and bad is mediocre. That's what this movie is. The main couple are so dumb, like stereotypical people in a horror movie dumb. They are literally listening to the news of Charles Manson family killing of Sharon Tate. And the wife tells the husband, you know, we should start locking our doors because the world has changed now. Do you think he does? Nope. Later, the neighbors are attacked and he goes outside to find out what's going on. He comes running back out of the neighbor's house covered in blood and tells the wife to call the police. She runs in the house to call the police. Do you think she closes and locks the door behind her? Nope. Doesn't even close the door behind her. The couple eventually gets attacked as well, and I kind of find it a little bit messed up that in the movie, one of the attackers stabs her in the stomach, and it just was dead on like what happened to a pregnant Sharon Tate. And I don't know, I have mixed feelings about that. It's a little messed up since it happened to a real person. But then again, everything that happens, not everything, but a lot of things that happen in horror movies have happened in real life. Like, you watch all the Friday the 13th series, people are getting stabbed, people get stabbed in real life, so Just in case you don't know who Sharon Tate is, she was married to the famous director Roman Polanski, and as if being married to a notorious child wasn't bad enough, the Manson family broke into her home and stabbed her to death, stabbed her house guests to death, and also a couple neighbors. This was part of their helter-skelter plan, which was to try to start a race war. Their idea was to do these murders and then leave cult symbols on the wall and other sayings on the wall to make it look like black people had done the killings. And so that was supposed to incite a race war, which makes it really messed up that Quentin Tarantino's trying to do a comedy based off this. I kind of feel like, how do you make that into a comedy? I guess we saw with Django, how do you make that into a comedy? It's just, okay, seems a little disrespectful to me. Anyway, back to the movie. The neighbor's daughter runs in and she slits her throat while holding the Annabelle doll and bleeds on the doll, and the doll absorbs the blood, and we're meant to believe her soul. After the attack of the neighbors and the couple, the dumbass husband still has to be reminded to lock the door. Seriously, your wife just got stabbed by an intruder and you can't remember to lock the door. The wife isn't much smarter because she doesn't know how to make Jiffy Pop, and her legs suddenly don't work when she needs to run. Have you ever burned popcorn? It smells up the entire house. There's no way for you to miss that you burned popcorn. Fire also smells. Consequently, after the house catches fire, they move into an apartment building. Before they move, the husband throws Annabelle away, but apparently she got out of the garbage and packed herself into some boxes, and she pops up like, surprise, bitch, I bet you thought you saw the last of me. And what does the wife do? Not throw her away again, no. She puts her in the nursery with the other dolls. Another strange thing she kept doing, once she had that baby, she kept leaving that baby alone a lot. Like, constantly. The thing that I get a kick out of Annabelle about is that she acts like a complete jerk. Like, leaving those drawings of the wife, seeing the baby in the stroller getting hit by a truck, that's a jerky thing to do. And I still got a kick out of those drawings, I don't know why. When you think about it, getting hit by trucks is Annabelle's thing. Remember what I said about the people that taunted the real Annabelle in the occult museum? What happened to them? Very often car accidents. Annabelle also likes to blast light favorites on a record player and jump scare the hell out of the wife for kicks. The best scene in this movie is the elevator scene and well, not so much the stairs scene, the elevator scene. It scared the crap out of me the first time I saw it. It was just really, because you can't see much, and it's just so tense and, how do I describe it? More creepy than scary. I think that's a better thing, because you're just waiting and waiting and waiting for the demon to get her. It was executed beautifully. Did I forget to mention the magical mystical Negro who owns the bookstore and exists only to explain demonology to the wife? I actually don't 100% agree with that. Well, at first I didn't 100% agree with that, because we are given a backstory on her, how she lost her daughter, her trying to commit suicide. Her character's fleshed out a little bit. Plus, she goes on to explain the circumstances of her daughter's death and how she'll never be a grandparent, and it kind of gives us her reasoning for wanting to have a friendship with the wife. The couple eventually reaches out to a priest for help, and Annabelle messes that priest up, which might be a callback to the story I told you earlier about the real-life Annabelle and what she did to that priest in Hartford. I like how this movie was shot. It's a good-looking movie. The set design, the locations, lighting, everything looked great. I especially like the scene where Annabelle appears to be sitting up, then standing, then levitating, and then just so slightly you finally make out that it's the demon holding Annabelle up. And I love the way that it's done in such a way that you can just barely see it, because it kind of reminds you of when things like that happen in real life. Like when you see that shadow out of the corner of your eye, you never fully see it clearly, you just barely see it. It's enough to creep you out. The climax of the movie was alright until the neighbor turned into the magical mystical Negro who also sacrificed herself to help people that she met about a week ago. The ending was so janky, I would have preferred if they just went with a cliche exorcism or something. Although that would have been kind of funny if they did a doll exorcism. I sort of wish that the story with the roommates had been expanded into a full-length movie, but that story may not have lended itself to sequels as well as this did. Especially considering how the Annabelle trilogy wraps back around on itself. This was written by Gary Doberman and directed by John Leonetti. I think the direction was stronger than the writing. That might have been a time issue because it seems like this was fast-tracked after the success of The Conjuring. This is not as awful as what people make it out to be, but it's also not as good as it could have been. How'd you feel about this first Annabelle movie? Were you aware of the Annabelle legend? Let me know in the comments and I'll be back in a moment to talk about Robert. Robert, may I please show your picture in this video so that I might tell people about you? Thank you. The tagline for Robert is, before Chucky, before Annabelle, there was Robert. Which is true because I just finished telling you about the real Annabelle. Annabelle terrorized roommates in 1968, some articles say, in 1970, other articles say. Whereas Robert the doll terrorized a Key West family in the early 1900s, about 1904 to be exact. It's actually been debated that Child's Play was inspired by Robert the doll, but Don Mancini denies this. But still, there's a lot of similarities between Robert's story and Chucky's. Check this out. The doll originally belonged to Robert Eugene Otto, an artist described as eccentric who belonged to a prominent Key West family. The doll was reportedly manufactured by the Steiff Company of Germany. Purchased by Otto's grandfather while on a trip to Germany in 1904 and given to young Otto as a birthday gift, the doll's sailor suit was likely an outfit that Otto wore as a child. According to legend, the doll has supernatural abilities that allow it to move, change its facial expressions, and make giggling sounds. Some versions of the legend claim that a young girl of Bahamian descent gave Otto the doll as a gift or as retaliation for her wrongdoing. Other stories claim that the doll moved voodoo figurines around the room and was aware of what went on around him. Still, other legends claim that the doll vanished after Otto's house changed ownership a number of times after his death, or that young Otto triggered the doll's supernatural powers by blaming his childhood mishaps on the doll. According to local folklore, the doll has caused car accidents, broken bones, job loss, divorce, and a cornucopia of other misfortunes. And museum visitors supposedly experience post-visit misfortunes for failing to respect Robert. You must first ask Robert if you can take his photo, which is why I did that. Visitors who take photos without permission report having misfortune and strange events happen to them after they have disrespected Robert. So much so that he has, as you can see in this image, amassed a lot of letters of apology, which is why I asked his permission to even show pictures other people have taken of him in this video. Better safe than sorry. Anyway, did you pick up on any similarities between Robert the doll's story and Child's Play? For example, a child blaming mishaps on a doll, or perhaps a voodoo spell being placed on a doll. Don Mancini may claim not to have been influenced or inspired by this story, but what do you guys think? Now that we've gone over the real life story of Robert the doll, let's talk about the movie that is made in his name. I get that the director was trying to be creative, but all these low angles are not the business at all. This looks way more like a TV program than a movie. At some points, you can even see the reflection of the boom mic in the cabinets. They tried. There's a scene where the maid is meant to be polishing the table, but she doesn't start polishing the table until the wife walks in. It's almost like you can't hear it, but you can see where they said action and then she started wiping the table. The fact that they didn't edit that out. Like you really could have just easily edited that out. The camera is all up in people's faces. Like 80% of the scenes are shot like this. You don't need, like, it'll be a shot and reverse shot, and both characters, their faces are this close to the camera. Why? I don't understand. Now I can't see because I went so close to the light, and I have like residual white lights, and I'm trying to look at my notes. Okay, it's coming back. Where was I? Okay. Regarding the shooting too close, at first I chalked it up to location, like maybe they don't have a lot of space because they're shooting on location, but then I'm thinking I'm shooting on a cheap camera, and I'm sure they're using a way more expensive camera than what I'm using, and I'm only maybe 2.5 feet from the camera because that's the amount of space I have. I feel like they just could have done better. Add to that, they keep shooting up from the floor for no reason, and it's not, well, I shouldn't say for no reason. Clearly they're trying to make it Robert's point of view, but it's too low because the doll looks to be about 2 feet tall if it were to stand, but the camera angle looks like it's shooting from the point of view of maybe a cat. This movie has a budget Lin Shaye with budget Lin Shaye lines. She literally says, "It's not the house that is haunted, it's the doll." They established that the wife, Jen, has had previous psychiatric issues, which they're pretty much setting it up so that when she sees something or hears something that her husband will not believe her because of these previous psychiatric issues. The husband's name is Paul, by the way. The family eventually fires the maid Agatha, aka Budget Lynn Shay. But before she leaves, she gives the son the Robert doll. Sound familiar? Like maybe perhaps a Bahamian servant girl who might have put voodoo on a doll. Kind of like this maid Agatha who might have put voodoo on a doll and gave it to a child. Very similar. Good job with that. I do like the little boy in this movie. His name is Eugene, and the original little boy who received Robert the doll was named Eugene as well. This movie uses footprints in the flour, like Child's Play, except for it's not flour, it's sugar this time. The score pays homage to Halloween. Robert acts a little bit like Annabelle by doing little jerky stuff like spilling the sugar, ruining the mother's paintings, stuff that's annoying but not necessarily harmful, until he pushes the new maid down the stairs. Her name is Martha. I don't know what, for some reason in this movie, I remember everyone's name. I remember that the mother's name is Jen, and the father's name is Paul, and the son's name is Eugene, and the first maid was named Agatha, and the second name was named Martha, which is interesting because I usually never remember anyone's name in movies, but I think it's because of the dialogue in this movie, people come on saying each other's names, that I remember all the characters' names. The second maid, Martha, gets thrown down the stairs, and at first she is just, dead at the end of the stairs. Then the camera cuts away, then it cuts back, and she suddenly has blood on her head for no reason. It was so weird. And something about the husband, Paul, reminded me of one of the victims from American Werewolf in London. I think the one that was in a subway with a briefcase. He reminded me of that guy. Regarding the design of the doll, I did not mention the design of the doll in the Annabelle review because it doesn't bother me that much. She's a little odd looking, but I got used to her. This doll, I hate the design of this doll. And real life Robert, please be advised that what I'm about to say is about the fake ass Robert, not you. We good? Good. Fake Robert has a pencil neck and a big head. Fake Robert has maniac cop jaw. Fake Robert's shirt says all aboard, but his pants say batter up. Fake Robert wears a sweater sleeve for a turtleneck. His middle name is Mudbone, and on top of all that, he's got a glass eye with a fish in it. Name that rap reference without Googling it. I don't condone domestic violence, but when Jen smacked Paul, I understood. People keep dying in your house, Paul, while your wife is not home. So it doesn't matter what kind of medication she's on, you have to admit that there's a problem. You daft prick. The actress playing Jen is acting her natural ass off. They gave her lemons and she made lemonade. Brava to you. Poor little Gene. 90% of his scenes are in this bed with these dinosaur sheets. Anyway, it's up to Jen to solve the mystery. So she goes to visit the home of the maid that gave the doll to her son. When she finds out that she is deceased, she goes to visit her previous employer. So they put her up on game about Robert the doll. And this movie feels too long. It just didn't have enough material to be 90 minutes long. It would have worked better at 70 minutes long. Like cut a firm 20 minutes out of it and this movie would have worked a lot better. Plus I was so sick of the director shooting so close to people's faces and at a low angle so it's directly up their noses. Please pull back a little bit. You have to remember some people are watching these on like 60 and 75 inch TV screens, or maybe they're projecting it. It's just too much. And at one point this movie wants you to be afraid of a doll with a wiffle ball bat, and plus, did I mention I'm not a fan of the camera work? I did like how they put real references to the Robert legend in the movie. Robert has a series of sequels all a year apart. This one came out in 2015, The Curse of Robert the Doll in 2016, Robert and the Toy Maker 2017, The Revenge of Robert the Doll 2018, and I just now found out that on July 2nd, literally a few days ago, Robert Reborn 2019 has been released. All by the same director, Andrew Jones. You guys think I should review this series? After I finish the Annabelle movies? I'm kind of interested to see how this director progresses. What say you? Keep in mind, next I do plan on doing an international doll movie week because there are so many doll movies from other countries that are great. Speaking of which, I forgot to mention that this Robert the Doll movie is from Wales, England, or Wales, UK, I should say. I don't know if I'm saying that right. Someone from UK, please correct me if I'm wrong in saying Wales, England. I think I've seen it written as Wales, UK. Specifically, it was filmed in Saundersfoot and Swansea in Wales. Now that I say that, I think that finishing the whole Robert the Doll series might be a great lead-in to my International Doll Week, which I don't know if you can tell I'm excited about because I really found some doll movies from all over the world. Have you seen the Robert the Doll movie? What did you think? Have you ever been to Key West and seen the real Robert the Doll? Let me know in the comments. I almost forgot to mention that all of the Robert the Doll movies except for the last one are free to watch on Amazon Prime. So that's probably why I'm not super upset about how bad this Robert the Doll movie was, because I didn't pay to watch it. So I think if I paid to see it, I would be super disappointed. But after seeing Robert the Doll, I really am going to defend Annabelle that much more. And now it's time for my sign off. Like I always say, just because I love something doesn't mean you won't hate it. Just because I hate something doesn't mean you won't love it. What do you think of both Annabelle and Robert the Doll? Let me know in the comments. Also, let me know if you want me to finish the whole Robert the Doll series. I'll let you guys tell me. Bye.
Yep, here's your problem. Someone set this thing to evil.